Hi, it's Yvonne from Women's Fitness Adventures. I am back with a masterclass on hiking fitness. Now, this is a huge topic and likely you have plenty of questions. So please go ahead and ask them in the Facebook group and I'll respond to them as soon as I can. There is a lot involved. And if you would like more information, please reach out to us. But let's get started. So the outline of the program is to learn why knowing what your current hiking fitness level is, both physically and mentally, in order to make progress. If we don't know where we're at, it's hard to know where we're going. So please make note of that. And discover why nothing is a substitute for the trail, no matter what we might tell ourselves otherwise. So we can train in the gym, we can do the Stairmaster, we can do the treadmill, we can walk around our local area, we can do all the boot camp classes in the world. Yes, they will make us stronger. Yes, they will help our cardio, but it does not substitute for time on the trail. But please don't be overwhelmed because there are ways that we can do this. And when we know what we're training for, if we've got a chosen hike in place, then we can actually build up with our training to get to that. The key is not to get overwhelmed. The key is to stay excited and take it slowly so that we can remain injury-free and keep our eye on the prize. But it's really important with our fitness as well to understand the importance of load. So how much effort and load is going through the body, how much more we're loading it with our backpack, fatigue, intensity, and how, when managed, that will change the way that we train. So you can see here's some of our happy hikers on the trail. I'm not really sure where we are at that point. I think we are in Germany. So pretty exciting. So first, the hiking fitness cycle. So where to begin, how to maintain, gaining confidence. Confidence comes, self-belief and skills come together to bring confidence. Unexpected time off, injury or illness in our life cycle of hiking fitness, training alone, endurance and weather conditions. So we may have been hiking for a long time, or we may be brand new to hiking. And the question is, I want to go hiking, I don't know where to start, or I want to lift my game and take myself to the next level. So starting out, wherever that might be, is starting out, and we progress. Then we maintain, then we recover. So it's really important to allow that recovery time as we're progressing through our hiking. We focus on injury prevention with our training. And then we can either keep going and go back to this progression, or we can just stop and have the need to restart again. So we're going to talk about how to maintain, how to gain confidence, what to do with that unexpected time off, injury or illness, why training alone is sometimes a good thing, endurance, what that means, and how we adapt to weather conditions as well. But if I explain the phases, so there's some different phases as well. So sedentary means that low level of activity and no regular routine. When it comes to hiking, right? It doesn't mean all of your life, but just when it comes to hiking. Starting out, short walks, easy terrain, and some strength work. Progression, so we're starting to increase our intensity. We might increase our duration, so how long we're out there for, so intensity being pace, and we might start to increase the type of hikes that we do or the type of physical activity to prepare us for our hiking, so hence progressing in our challenges. Our maintenance then, so we've started off, we've kind of lifted ourselves and got to here. Now we're going to maintain for a little bit, because what happens is if we go too hard and too soon, then we will risk injury. We will burn out. We will then really fall out of love with hiking, and it may take us a long time to recover, or we may decide that it's not for us at all. And hiking is such a wonderful thing that we want to build this lifelong love of hiking. So maintenance is this regularity, this consistency, trying new trails, and the routine of some strength training. And I'll talk about strength training a little bit further on. And we have this saying in my world that consistency over time equals results. So no matter where you are starting or where you're trying to get to, whether you're leveling up or just starting out, showing up and putting in the work will get you the results. And it's like the tortoise or the hare. The one who goes really fast tends to get a little bit burnt out. It is just that consistently looking after ourselves, preserving and protecting our body along the way. we do need recovery and downtimes after our hikes and our multi-days. And that becomes more evident as we get older. So as we get older, we can still do the same things. We might just need a little bit more time to recover. And what happens is that when we go on a hike, we're using a lot of energy, we're using a lot of our muscles and a lot of mental capacity as well, concentration, that we need the days after to recover, to let the muscles repair and grow so that next time we come back stronger. But we can't leave next time for too long. Injury prevention as well, understanding, having a great understanding of our own body and and how we train it for hiking is taking really big strides towards injury prevention. We'll talk through that. And then we can restart and reset the goal and start again. But the best part of this is that we hike, we progress, we hike, we recover, we progress, we recover. We don't actually ever go back to the start, because remember, in the beginning, when you're starting out or whether you're wanting to go to the next level, where you're wanting to go to is fantastic. And when you get there, you want to do all that you can to stay there rather than come back all the way down the snakes and ladders game. But as I said, it's easy to fall out. Injuries happen, excuses come up. There's always tomorrow, a saying we have in Australia, she'll be right. And without realizing it, you are right back to the start. And it's easy. Sometimes we can feel like we've gone to the edge of the cliff, and not literally on a hike, but just, we've pushed ourselves to the point where we have to decide, are we going to just let ourselves tumble over, or are we going to pull ourselves back and get on with our training? And the easiest way to do that is to just consistently show up, pace that training out, pace your body, understand your body, and know what feels right and what doesn't feel right. Otherwise, we're going to be right back at the start, wishing we were where we are right now. So here's the tip: stay in that zone, and each time you hike, you level up. So progress, maintain, injury prevention. Understand your body and understand your motivation and priorities as well. It's one thing to say we want to get into hiking and we want to do the training. It's another thing to make it a priority and do that. Hope and wishful thinking doesn't work when it comes to hike training. We actually have to physically get out and do something. So how do we know if we're hiking fit? Well, your mind and your body will recover well after your time on the trails. So I work with a lot of women, and when they first start out, and we might do a couple of hours hike in the morning, and they'll need to go home for a nap in the afternoon. But that doesn't last forever. Eventually their body recovers quite quickly, and they can then start to string longer hikes or multiple days in a row. We're hiking fit if we remain injury-free, that we're not so sore the next day that we can't move. We're hiking fit if we can manage the effects of weather on our body. So depending where you live, it can be really, really hot, or it can be cold. And if you're lucky to live in a temperate climate, then fabulous for you. But heat and cold do strange things to our body when we're hiking fit. So it comes back to knowing our body as well, knowing what it's like to feel if we're overheating, and how we can hike in that heat and manage to maintain a good body temperature and not lose it, so to speak. We're hiking fit if our hydration and our fuel supports our energy levels. So one thing that is a dirty word for women in general, and I'm generalizing here and not meaning to upset anyone, is carbs. But our ability to fuel our hikes comes down to what we put into our bodies. And if we're not putting enough of the easy to draw on carbohydrates, if we're not eating before our hike as well, we are going to start to draw on our skeletal system. So really important that we fuel with the right food. And that doesn't mean eating pasta dinners 5 nights in a row, but it actually means eating to support the work that you're doing. Going on a hike is not an opportunity to go on a diet. And I really want to stress that, because we've been doing some work inside our community with a sports dietitian, and the women who always thought that losing weight was not eating and exercising was a way to lose weight, and now eating these great carbs before their hike and are actually losing weight because the energy is supporting what they're trying to do. Hydration is just as important as well. It's really easy and we can quickly become dehydrated. So making sure that we have 2 liters of water or 8 glasses of water at least on our hikes. More if it's hot weather, more if you drink more as well. There is a tendency, though, for women to not want to drink much water because they don't want to go to the toilet or the bathroom on the trail. So we're hiking fit if we can manage our hydration and the fuel to support our energy levels so that we feel as good at the beginning of the hike as we did at the end of the hike in terms of energy. We may be tired and fatigued, but we still have good amounts of energy. And we understand the grading of trails and our own limits as well. And globally, trail gradings look very different. Even where I live in the 5 different states that we have here, the trail gradings are different. So understanding the grading of the trails and which trail to choose for you is really, really important. Choose a trail that's too hard for you and you will smash yourself and, probably not want to continue hiking. Choose one that's too easy and you might find that a little bit of boredom sets in. So your hiking fit is not just about our physical, but it's about our mental. It's about what fuel goes in. It's about remaining injury-free as well. But hiking fitness is a total body experience. So as I said, knowing the food that fuels you, ensuring hydration so a couple of days before that you're really starting to fuel up and hydrate well, during and post the hike. We need strength for balance, stability, and movement, and mobility as well. So strength comes in lots of forms, and I'll talk about that shortly. Understanding your body in the different weather conditions, spending time on your legs on the trail to build endurance, strength for injury prevention, and cardio for hills, stairs, and stamina. So it's a whole little ecosystem of the things I've been talking about, making the trails our friend and stop comparing trail distance to the footpath. So in the beginning, I said that nothing substitutes for the trail. So the footpath is also known as the pavement. There is no substitute for time on the trail. Time on the trail is, not only the beauty of nature and the benefits that we get from being out in nature, but it's also how our foot behaves, whether we're in boots or shoes on the trail, which doesn't happen on the footpath or pavement. It's also how the different surfaces, the technicality, the rocks, perhaps there's some tree roots and, we have to step over or through creek crossings or water crossings as well. So trails are our friend. And if we are booked on a multi-day hike and it says we're walking, 20 kilometers or 10 miles that day, 16 kilometers is 10 miles. And we think, well, I can easily do that around my local area where I live. There is no comparison of trails to the footpath. In lots of locations, in particular Europe, they do not give distances. They will just say we are walking or hiking for 8 hours, not including stops. So it is really important that we get out on the trail and get to know what we feel like outside in that environment. We also need to get strong. We need to get strong for balance, for stability, for mobility, for our torso, and we need to get strong mentally. Now, our bodies, we can do a lot with our bodies, but if we're not getting it right up here in our head, that hiker's mindset, then that's going to let us down, that self-belief. We need to get functional as well, either at the gym or with functional fitness or a trail fit training session. We offer those. Know the muscles that do the work. Know the why, the how, and the because. Because when you do that, your workout takes on a whole new meaning. Now, there's a couple of powerhouse muscles that we use when we go hiking. There's a lot of muscles we use, but I'm just going to mention our glute, our bottom, our butt, whatever you want to call it. It is the biggest muscle in our body in terms of burning the most calories, doing the most work. And we know that when our glute muscles are turned on, they take a lot of effort out of our hamstring and our quad, which is the front and back of our leg. When our glute tires, it relies on the rest of the leg to do the work. And you might find that towards the end of a hike, you know that saying, you're dragging your feet. It's because we've fatigued the rest of our muscles. So if we're not strong there to begin with, we can, quickly let ourselves down. So building this strength through our lower body is really, really important. Strength in our glute or our bottom will also help protect and preserve our knees. Strength in our calf muscles will help us stop really quickly. It helps us turn really quickly, and also takes a lot of pressure off the knees as well. So you can see the knees they're quite simple joints, but they're really at the hinge point of everything. Our torso is really important. So that's literally from, our chest to our pelvic area. Really important that we're stable and strong through there for maintaining balance and stability, for carrying our loaded packs as well, for being able to turn easily too. And our back, of course, sits in there as well. But when you know the how and the why those muscles are doing the work, for your hiking, why we want to do squats, why we want to do lunges, why we need to step laterally and sideways, because they're the muscles that stop us from slipping, that's when we'll want to do the workout. And whether that's at the gym or an online program or whatever it might be, the workout takes on a whole new meaning. We want to fuel correctly, hydrate correctly, spend time on our legs, and then check in, repeat, and level up. And that's the ecosystem. It's really quite simple. Probably the hardest part of it all is finding and committing the time. So how do we begin, maintain, and increase our fitness? So think of it like a game of snakes and ladders. And I'm sure, hopefully you've had that game from childhood. So you want to stay on the ladder and progress and maintain. If you step off the ladder, take the focus off your hiking, you will go backwards. You will slide down the snake. So we want to build that endurance gradually. Start with shorter hikes and gradually increase the distance and the difficulty. Start with easy trails and gradually move on to more challenging ones. And mix it up. Don't do the same trails that you know over and over again, because our body gets to predict what's going to happen. It works against you when you get to new trails. And we train regularly here in my town. Every Monday we have training, and we have done every single trail we can possibly find on that mountain. So we are getting faster and our cardio is getting better. But when it comes to new trails, everyone's really hesitant, because we're not experiencing anything new when we train every Monday. Know, understand, and train your muscles, legs, back, and core all need to be strong. So if we can stay in this zone, keep going up the ladder, and it only needs to be one rung, every couple of weeks. It doesn't have to be progression, every single week. That will maintain and increase our fitness. But it's really important that as we're progressing, that we don't overtrain and we don't mix up what we're increasing. So let me talk through this, and I'll come back to that point about our mixing up the increasing. So what about time out for injury or unplanned events? So time on the trails is one important and necessary part of hiking fitness. Planning ahead, a long way ahead, will allow for bumps in the road. We are all busy women. We're at the Hike Like a Woman Summit. We are all busy women, and perhaps even finding time to watch this masterclass has meant you've had to push something else aside. So what we want to do with our hikes, especially if it's a multi-day hiking adventure, is plan it a long way ahead and allow for all those bumps in the road. Allow for holidays, allow for work, allow for things you don't even know that might come up, and start sooner rather than later. If your injury permits, focus on strength or balance or stretching. If you have something that you're not allowed to go out hiking, perhaps you can use the bike, or perhaps you can, do some more upper body or yoga or something like that. And focus on all of the other elements as well. Focus on your food, your water, your sleep, understanding your body, how it responds. Know when it's right, know when it's not right, and really use that time to get strong in the mind. We don't want to have in our heads this, I'm behind now, I feel I'm behind, because life is an ebb and flow. So really important that if we're not able to hike or walk, that we can focus on those other areas of our hiking fitness. And if necessary, readjust your plans. Most injuries, provided they're not too intense, are only a 4 to 6 week timeout. And sometimes that's slowly ramping up back in. It's not all or nothing. There are other elements of hiking fitness as well. So I want to, before I jump onto this, I said back here that, mix it up, don't do the trails over and over again. When we want to, when we're beginning our hiking fitness and maintaining it and then increasing it, we have this 10% rule. So if you are walking a certain distance all the time, or carrying a certain pack weight all the time, or doing a certain number of hills all the time, when we are looking to increase, we will only change one variable at a time, and we will only change 10% at a time as well. For example, I might walk 10 kilometers, 6 miles every Monday, and in my backpack is about 5 kilos. And I do some hills with that. So if I decided that all of a sudden I wanted to go and just focus on getting increased distance, I generally wouldn't go from 10 kilometers to 20 kilometers. I would try and increase by maybe 1 kilometer or 2 kilometer. I wouldn't change my distance, my pack weight, and my hills all in one go as well. Because the reason I say that is if something goes wrong in terms of an injury or a niggle or just don't feel right, you're not going to know what it is if you've changed everything at once. So that's why we want this really big, long runway to your hike or your adventure, so that you have time to move all these variables around. Now, obviously, the more you've been hiking, the more your body is conditioned. Your hiking age is a little bit older, but it's important to still look at all these variables, because if we suddenly get an injury, and I'm nursing a little bit of an injury at the moment, we need to work out what it is that caused it. And if you've changed so many things at once, it can be really hard to figure that out. So hiking fitness varies in the heat, the cold, the wind, and all seasons. So we want to know how our body responds in the heat. Now, where I live, it's very warm in summer, and it can be temperatures of up to 40 degrees, which is 100 Fahrenheit. We do hike in that, but we have become conditioned to hike in that. We're really well hydrated. We wear cooling things around our neck. We know when we get too hot, we plan rest stops. Hiking in the cold for us is something new, though. Maybe it's something that you do all the time. How do we prepare ourselves? How do we know the right clothes? Because hiking fitness is not just about our physical, it's about all our preparation as well. Does it feel right when you're hiking in these different conditions? And you can only know that when you know what your body is doing, what your body feels like, how your body responds. Do you sweat more or less? Do you consume more water? Do you need to wear lighter or heavier clothes? So having clothing for the conditions, going slower in the heat. If it's really hot, take frozen water as well. So hiking fitness is not just about how we physically step it up, which is the endurance, the cardio, and the strength. It is all these other things as well, because I have seen the fittest, strongest people fall apart when they don't pay attention to the other aspects of their hiking fitness. So hiking fitness for confidence, going downhill, across gravel, across edges. So you can see the girls here on the side of a mountain, and here we are on this one here. I think we might be in Iceland in that first picture. So what we want to do, going downhill freaks a lot of people out, but build up slowly. If it's not your first gig, just build up really slowly. Confidence takes time. As we build skills, hiking skills, our knowledge of how to walk uphill, how to walk downhill, how to, use poles, all that. When we build those skills, we build more self-belief and confidence, and that helps us lift up our game with hiking. Body strength, as I said, is really, really important. Our mindset strength, and then repetition. If you're going uphill is scary or, elevate your heart rate really quickly, then just set yourself little targets for going uphill. Maybe I'm going to walk up that hill, just in my local area with my sports shoes on and, my workout clothes, and I'm going to aim to do that 3 times and see how long that takes me and record how I feel afterwards. And perhaps, in less than a week, you might be able to do that 4 or 5 times. So it's this repetition that we have here, and the principles are the same for when we are going downhill or across gravel or edges. It is that fear of falling as well, that fear of heights or more falling. And what we want to do there is know what your trek is all about, know what your hike is all about, so that you can start to build up that hiking confidence. If by chance you have a real fear of heights and you haven't asked the questions and have booked onto something that has lots of edges and stuff, then, maybe there's opportunity to delay that hike till you can, build up all of this other stuff around your hike training. So hiking fitness for a multi-day hike? No, you do not need to replicate the trail or the days on the trail before you go. So for example, if your multi-day hike is 5 days in a row, you do not need to hike 5 days in a row before you go. You will walk into a certain level of fitness by about day 2 or day 3, but you don't need to replicate the entire adventure. There's no point in that. But you do need to do the training, which includes time on the trails, which includes strength training, which includes rest days, which includes cardio training, and increasing your backpack load. It's that preparation, conditioning, peak, and taper. And depending where you're going, allow 12 to 16 weeks for your training. And that also depends on your base as well. So if you've never done any hiking and you think, yeah, I want to do that, then please allow, a good 6 months at least. But I would suggest, have your goal at least 12 months in advance, because then you can continue to get excited about it, but you can also allow for all those bumps in the road. And ensure you understand your adventure before you book, and then you can match the training accordingly. And we have a course, Adventure Ready for Hiking course, and I'll pop a discount code in there if you're interested, is how do you know who to go with and what the details of the hike are, and that course covers all of that. But ask a lot of questions. There should be a whole lot of details around distance, around terrain, around elevation, around time on your legs, all of those sorts of things available to you before you book on a hike. So we can do our hike training. And as I said, there is so much in this topic. And if you want specifics about, well, Yvonne, that's great, but I want a 12-week training plan. That course I was just talking about before has that. We will build a hike training plan together with you. So please reach out to us if that's of interest to you. But to avoid hiking injuries, we need to follow the principle of preparation, conditioning our body, loading our body. So hiking with the weight that we're going to be taking on our multi-day adventure here. Only for a short period of time, and then tapering. We don't want the body to fatigue under load. If we follow that format, we will minimize our injury risk and avoid fatigue. Hiking injury, as I said, occurs when we go way too far, too fast, or too heavy, too soon, or for too long. For example, shin splints happen when you suddenly increase distance or speed or both, and you don't give the body time to adjust. Now, I've been on a hike with a girl who we hike as a group, but I didn't see her for 3 days. I couldn't walk alongside her for 3 days because she was so far out in front. But after the 3rd day, she couldn't walk. She hadn't followed the training plan enough, and she just kept going faster and faster. Her legs weren't conditioned for that. She got the shin splint straight away and had to not walk for the rest of the hike. So, this too fast, too soon, too long is really, really critical. We want to make sure that we're not in that space, because we will get there. Give ourselves enough lead time. Avoiding hiking injuries also means having the right equipment, especially your backpack. Back soreness or back injury occurs with an ill-fitting or poorly packed or untested on the trail pack. So getting fit for hiking means not testing anything new on the adventure trail. Avoiding hiking injuries is that strength training, so the gym, your functional fitness, or some notes for your personal trainer. And as I said, when you know the why, when you know which muscles are doing what for you to help you with your hiking, and strength through our legs takes a whole lot of cardio effort out as well. So really important. And to know our body, know and understand our body. And we can bury our head in the sand for a long time about it, but the better we know our body, the better our hiking experiences are going to be. So how do we stay motivated though when we're training alone? So your home location may dictate where you train, and staying motivated can be a real challenge. Create a playlist on Spotify. We have one, you can follow us, Women's Fitness Adventures. It's available on Spotify. Enlist a friend for an online hike and talk. So connect over Zoom, download some podcasts, reach out in Facebook groups for an accountability buddy. Create yourself little rewards and keep your eye on the prize. But the other thing I'm going to add is when you're hiking or training alone is, set yourself a distance, a distance and a time target. That's really important, because the feedback I have from our community who hike alone is that it's really easy just to slow down. And how much weight you're carrying in your back as well, because no one's holding you accountable. So when you start to measure every hike that you do, you'll actually see if you're progressing or not, or be accountable to someone. But the enemy of our hike training is time, it is procrastination, it is priorities, it is self-responsibility, and it is self-sabotage. So physical fitness can neither be achieved by wishful thinking nor outright purchase. And that's from the Pilates fellow, Joseph Pilates. And Muhammad Ali said, I hated every minute of training, but I said, don't quit, suffer now, and live the rest of your life as a champion. So I have seen many women on multi-day adventures, and those who put the training in really reap the rewards on the adventure. Those who don't put the training in, you get by on the adventure, but they are dragging themselves into bed. They are missing out on the conversation. The noise in their head is focused on, do I have to do this again tomorrow? The training is where the magic happens. The rainbow is actually on the adventure. So that is it for me. If you would like more on, as I said, there's so much. If you would like more on hiking fitness, please just drop some comments into the Facebook group and I can point you in the right direction. But thank you for listening and enjoy the rest of the summit.